Let me start by saying this is the Cancer Awareness Week for our game, and we are dedicating the game to Tylee Craft. We're not sure he'll be able to come. We're hoping he'll feel better by then. And I appreciate all the thoughts and prayers and the GoFundMe that was put forth to try to help the family. People have really stepped up and done a tremendous job in that area. So please keep Tylee and his mom, September, in your thoughts and prayers, and please continue to support the GoFundMe program because it's so expensive for people who are sick. And we have another player on our team that has cancer, Cal Tierney. He was a tight end. It's been more of a miracle on the other side where Tylee's fighting. Cal's doing so well, and he had some cancer removed in the spring. He's not playing, but he is working out every day and around the team, and sometimes we talk so much about Tylee that we forget about Cal. So we want to make sure that everybody knows he is doing very well and progressing, and each of the players will pick someone in their life that is has been affected by cancer, a family, and they will dedicate the week to them, and that's something that we do each year. So. But again, continue to pray for Tylee. I'm going to wear his shirt all week. We'll wear T-shirts in his honor for the Bell Tower Walk on Saturday, because this is a big week to pick him up and try to help him moving forward. Also, it seems like there is progress in the mountains. We want to continue to have thoughts and prayers in the mountains. I love how people have stepped up, and so many of the country music stars. Eric Church just donated a song, and they're talking about concerts, and so people are trying to help, and it's a long, hard road, but when everybody pulls together, this country can be really, really powerful. And we've got friends that are talking about not being able to go back to school maybe all year, and what do you do? Do you move? Do you have homeschool? You don't have a house for 2 months. Where do you live? I mean, it's some really tough stuff that's happening in the mountains. And one of the things we all have to be careful of is when a tragedy like this happens, and we all embrace it and we work hard to help, and then if we're not careful, as it slows down, we go away and they don't have as much help. So we got to make sure that we continue to fight. I also wanted to say that our thoughts and prayers are with Grayson McCall. I saw the hit that he took, and we got tough games, hard hit, so we want to make sure he is moving forward and doing well. I used to write all the guys that would get hurt like that if they were key players on teams, and NCAA told me I couldn't do it anymore because it was tampering. So it's just amazing how things have changed. So I can say, Grayson, we're thinking about you and hope you have a full and speedy recovery. The game against Pitt, I thought we played really hard. It was two really good teams. It was a great game. They made more plays than we did in the end. And really it came down to third and fourth downs. We were 7 of 21, and we got to do better in that area. They were 10 of 17, and then we were 2 of 5 touchdowns in the red zone, and they were 4 of 6. And other than that, we were better in penalties. We've protected the ball. We had a turnover for a touchdown. Our kicking game was really good. So there were a lot of really positive things that happened, but we still didn't make the plays to win the game. We're experienced enough on offense with our offensive line, but I thought they played better. They're getting better each week. Jacoby didn't even go through spring practice. I think he'd played 58 plays before this season and hadn't started a game, so he gets better every week. But you go back, we drop a touchdown pass. We have a pass overthrown that's wide open in the end zone for a touchdown. We don't make a 4th and 1. We're 2 of 6 on 4th downs on our end of the field. So all of those things win the game. And then there's about 6-7 plays on defense that we give up big plays. So we've just got to go ahead and start making those plays, and that would have been the difference in this game for sure. Struggled in the second half. We're looking at why. We're not sure. We talked to Chip about that today. We've been outscored in the second half in the last 2 weeks, and that's usually not who we are. But the offensive line played much better, and we just got to continue to grow and get better. Defensively, quarterback and tailback are the two guys we had to stop. We didn't stop them. They made the plays. So we got to take away what they do best, and we didn't do that. Had a lot of great plays on defense. We're playing consistently well, and then we're not. We're giving up the big play again. So we've got to get better, and we've got to force more turnovers. Caleb Cost had one of the great plays of the year with his interception for a touchdown, but that's the only turnover, and we had our hands on two other balls in the air. We had the ball on the ground twice and didn't get it. We just got to start taking advantages of opportunities, and we're not doing those. We said penalties, we're much better in that area. We won that battle. Special teams looked more like we did the first 3 weeks. Kickoff return, Nate McCullum had 2 really good ones. We were really close on a couple of block punts, but we still got to change the game. But we did win the kicking game, and that was a huge part of it and in a phase as we were looking at the video after the game. Georgia Tech, Brent Key is the new head coach. He's done a really good job. This is his second full season. He was an offensive lineman at Georgia Tech. They're 4-2. They're a lot like Pittsburgh. They're physical. They can run the ball, but they've got Hayes King's a really good quarterback that's a dual threat. He can run, and we didn't stop the running quarterback last week very well. But he's also got an outstanding arm. Coach's kid out of Texas. He's a transfer from Texas A&M. Jamal Haynes is a really good running back. He got over 100 yards against Duke. He was a converted wide receiver. They use a lot of shifting and motion, and they've got really good skilled people. So they do a good job of getting the ball to their skilled people in space. They're only giving up 19 points a game, so they're playing much better defense than last year. Last year we had a shootout with them, but they're playing great defense right now. Their rush defense is only giving up 87.5 yards per game. And 44, Kyle Eford, leads the team in tackles with 42, and he's all over the place. He's really a good player, and he's fun to watch. You look at college football in general, it's crazy right now. It's down to who makes the best plays at the end, because there's just a fine line between most teams. There's some that are better than everybody else, and everybody else got a chance each week. You look at Vanderbilt beats Alabama, #1 Alabama. They did it by keeping the ball 40 minutes. Washington gets beat by Rutgers last week and beats Michigan. Michigan last week beats Minnesota by 3 points. Minnesota goes and beats USC. Then you look at A&M beats Missouri badly. Missouri is a top 10 team. You start looking at Miami's down 25 against Cal and comes back and wins. Virginia has an 18-point fourth quarter and wins. You look at James Madison, as good as they looked against us, they got beat 19-21 against Louisiana Monroe. It's really, really crazy to see how college football is right now, because you just don't know. Every week that you walk out there, it's exciting, but we're headed more toward the NFL. I'll bet you we'll end up having some 8-win teams in playoffs, because you've just got to make the plays each week. And that's just something happens. So from our coaches, we've got to continue to coach better. People that coach the best are going to be the ones that are going to win, because it comes down to those 10 plays a game. And that's what you got to do. I thought our guys were ready to play. I thought they played really hard. We've just got to continue to help them as coaches and help them make plays. Questions?
So when you're looking at the film and you're talking about these 10 plays, it seems like every game just about is like that. When you start adding up those plays, is it around 10 each week for you guys? Or maybe in this week, was there maybe more because of the big plays defensively and some of the missed opportunities?
Yeah, no, there were 8 on defense. And they're probably, like I said, we drop a touchdown pass. We don't make a 4th and 1. A pass is overthrown to the end zone that could have been a touchdown. We don't make 4 of the 6 fourth downs that all could have been touchdowns. So you could ask Chip exactly. I sat down and I went over all 8 with the defense this morning, and why and what happened and what we could have done differently. How do we start having fewer? And then I just did the same thing with the offense, and I'll do the same thing with the special teams this afternoon.
You mentioned the 4th and 1 the other night. You were talking about analytics. You've talked a lot about analytics the last few years. When did analytics become a thing for you? And form of analytics when you were at Texas? And if so, did you rely on anything like that?
Yeah, Andrew, it's a good question. I haven't thought about it, so I'll try to give you an answer here. When we were at Texas and we started playing Texas Tech, and Mike Leach was going for fourth down every time. He went for 13 fourth downs against us one time in Austin. I think he made 4 of them. He said, I was going to get beat anyway, so what the heck? We'll go for it. So we made a decision when we were playing Mike Leach, if we crossed the 50, there were no field goals. Everything was fourth down because you're going to have to score touchdowns because he was going to score some touchdowns. So that was kind of analytics. We didn't know it at that time. There wasn't such a thing. And now we get an analytics report every Monday. We really get it Sunday, so we go over it in the staff meeting this morning, and they agreed with everything we did except one. They thought I should have gone for the 4th and 2 that we didn't go for on the -30, I think. And we punted, and we held them, so we made the right decision. And they said, we would have told you to go for it. The way it worked out fine because you stopped them and got the ball back. So what I told the coaches is that there's one thing to go for them, you got to make them. Now, if we'd kicked 3 field goals and those other, we'd have still gotten beat. But we would have had a better chance. But we knew we had to score touchdowns going into this game because they were a team that was scoring a lot of points. So you take the analytics and then you take it to the momentum of the game and then you put it in what's best for your team at the moment. So I take the analytics every time and I go with my gut to do what I think is best. It's like at the end of the game, they helped us some by throwing incomplete passes because then we could use our timeouts and you've got to strategically use all your timeouts, which actually would have given us a chance. And we nearly intercepted the pass right before the field goal. If we do that, I mean, we're driving to score to tie it up instead of them getting 10 points. So analytics is something that all of us are looking at. Like I said, after the game, I think, is when we start the game, I will turn to Alex Mars, and when we get the ball, and it's 1st and 10 at the 20, 25, they will say 1 yard is a go. So if it's 4th and 1 on the first drive, they're going to go for it. In analytics. Now, Pittsburgh was 4th and 2 at the -45 on the first drive. And it bothered me because they immediately, analytics would say go for 4th and 2 at the -45. And I mean, they didn't think about it. They didn't look at the punter. They got people on the field and went for it immediately. So I knew it was going to be that type day, that they felt like they were going to have to score some points. So you can just tell by the feel of the game what the other team's thinking. And also, Andrew, we always look at who uses analytics and who doesn't for the other team, because we'll know who's going to be more. If you're using analytics, you're going to be more aggressive and you're going to go for more 4th downs.
If I can ask a quick follow-up on that, how often do you find yourself, excuse me, when you only have a handful of seconds to make a decision, where your instincts, all those years that you became a Hall of Famer and everything, kind of fight against the analytics, but you have to sort of have an internal squabble there for a couple of seconds? How
Yeah, I grew up as an offensive coordinator, so I want to go for every one of them. I want to score touchdowns. I don't want to kick field goals. And everybody says, well, you should have kicked the field goal. There's no guarantee you're going to make it. Now, ours is good, so we've got a higher percentage. But no, I am an aggressive, go for it, confident, gives your team confidence when you go for it, but you got to make them. I mean, you sit there 2 out of 6, and we just went over all 6 of those to show exactly what we did and what we should have done differently to decide this week, as we're looking at Georgia Tech and we look at our game, will we be as aggressive this weekend?
Mack, how would you assess your defense now after 6 games, just overall?
We've played the best defense we've played, but we've been inconsistent. There's times, Chip, when I look at it, and I told the players this yesterday, I said, it's amazing, y'all look great, and then we give up a big play. I mean, those are things we can't do. So I met with the defensive staff an hour this morning and said, okay, here are the 8. Out of 77 plays, there's 8 plays that make a difference. Now, there's those other 60-something were really good, so they made a difference. But here's 8 that we've got to do better in, and we went through every one of them and said, having too much? Did we not practice it enough in practice? Have we got the wrong personnel out there? Was he tired? Should we have called timeout? I mean, what changes these 8 plays? And the same thing the second half against Duke. And that's what you got to do. You got to change. And sometimes I think we have great kids on this team, and they're really trying. And sometimes I think they may be trying too hard. They're trying so hard that they'll overrun a tackle, or they'll get in the wrong place because they're trying so hard to get there and get out of space. So we've got to push them. We've got to keep picking them up. But also, you don't want to have kids trying too hard and then mess up because they're so afraid that they're going to mess up that they're playing tentative too.
Is that the common thread in those 8 plays? Oh, trying too hard to make a play, or is there something else you can detect? Those big plays that you're talking about?
Jeff will talk to you about it because I went over it with both coordinators this morning and the entire that side of the ball, that staff. But it's just the hardest thing about coaching is to take the mistakes, figure out why they were made. Was it a coaching error? Was it a player error? Was it somewhere in between? Were they playing too hard, trying too hard? They were all focused. They really tried. They really wanted to win. And that's why when I walk off the field and we've played as hard as we can, I can handle that. Then we as coaches have to help direct them better.
When you hired Chip Mack, emphasis was on complementary football, running the ball more. I feel like you guys have definitely done that. But then I'm also like watching, I'm like, you know, I used to have some more big plays like you guys used to have. So, I mean, do you sense that too? Like, hey, is there like a happy medium?
Yeah.
Offenses you've had?
Yeah, we had an hour with him this morning as well, and said when you've got a completely new offensive line and you've got a quarterback that's as inexperienced as Jacoby, you're really trying to figure out who you are. Yeah. And by 6 games, he didn't even play in the first one. He played a little bit in the second one, so he's 4 games into this. And we are getting better. We had a 19-play drive, but we're not having the big plays, and that's because we overthrow a touchdown. We drop a touchdown pass, and right now we don't have the margin of error to do that. We've got to make those plays. So our biggest takeaway from the weekend was make 5 of those 10 plays that are out there, and we win the game.
How about the receivers? I mean, you're playing a lot. So Jordan Shipp was out there. Alex Taylor's got, like, are you kind of searching for somebody to step up to be that guy, like a Josh Downs? Or
Yeah, well, Nate McCullum had a great game Saturday. When you don't win the game, we don't give credit to those that play great. He had a bunch of catches. He had 10 catches. That's the second best game he's had, I think, since he's been here. Minnesota last year was his best one. I think there were 15, 16 catches then. No, we wanted to play more players. We're trying to get more guys in the game. But we just got to make plays. We have a couple of guys open and we miss them. Chris Culliver's got a chance at a post corner and we overthrow it. So we just got to protect better. We got to get Jacoby going. He made some great plays. But again, we're about like everybody else, so we've got to do a better job.
Mack, you talked about 1995, the team got off to a 3-3 start and then won 4 out of 6 and kind of set the table for the final 2 years that you were here. What allowed them to turn the season in the middle of things, and do you think this team has some of those similar energies?
Yes, I said from the beginning that I feel like this team will be one that will keep getting better. You got a new defensive coordinator. We've shown signs of playing great defense. It's just not consistent. The offensive line's we've lost a coach. We've lost all 3 inside guys at some point, and the 2 tackles are just rookies that are playing. Ja'Kai Leftwich has been hurt, but he played more Saturday because he's getting back in the mix some. So I feel like the offensive line will just keep getting better each week. We had our second team back's been out. He played 6 plays all year. The quarterback didn't go through spring. We didn't think he'd be playing this year. So the offense has had a load thrown at them. And they're really working through some things. We were just talking to the coaches a few minutes ago. You have a 19-play drive. That's hard to do. But we've got to get more explosive plays. And we're not turning the ball over offensively except for the James Madison game. And that was horrible. But other than that, we haven't turned it over. We're really taking care of it. So we've got to have the physical, confident team that beat Minnesota on the road with a better passing game. And that's what we're going back and looking toward and telling guys that we just talked about Tylee. We just talked about the mountains. We just talked about Cal. Life's tough. So these are great teachable moments to learn that when everything's not rosy and you're not walking around, everybody's not bragging on you and everybody's questioning a lot of the things you do. It's time to grow up and be tough and handle it, and this will help you later on in your life.
Mac, you talk about fixing a lot. Is it, and nothing can ever be perfect, I'm sure, but do you find yourself fixing different things every week? And is it more frustrating to you when you have to fix the same thing?
Yeah, no, I think, and again, Art, it's a good question. There's some similar things that you have to get fixed, but usually if it's the same thing, you usually change the player. That's it. But are you doing too much? Are you working on the things that you're doing in the game enough in practice? Are you getting the ball to the right guys? Our protection, we didn't protect well against James Madison. We didn't protect well against Duke. The protection was so much better Saturday. The blitzes didn't get there. We didn't have the same problem. So we're fixing things. There's usually more to fix with a new offense because you're not sure who you are, so you're trying to figure it all out, and then you're leaning on what you do better. And I think we had 1 sack. We didn't get a sack, but we only gave up 1 sack Saturday, so we're actually protecting better than we have since we've been here. So there are positive things. It's just when you lose the game, everything becomes negative. So we have to go back and really do a good job of saying these things were really positive. Nobody wants to hear it, but these things are really positive. So let's build on them. Let's fix these things. And again, you go back, and if it's a repeat, you usually have to change the player.
Mac, how do you, a situation like the team you're going to play Saturday, Georgia Tech, Jeff was just the head coach there, obviously. You have some experience yourself personally with coming back here with Texas all those years ago in whatever it was, 2002. How do you as a coach keep from taking a game like this personally?
Yeah, I can say I really didn't. I love North Carolina. Nobody really understood the circumstances of me leaving, and it didn't matter. Nobody was going to listen anyway. So when we had the game in Austin, we had just lost a player. And really and truly, it was all about him and his family. We lost him to a car wreck in the spring. It was our first home game, a truck wreck. It was Cole Pittman. I remember it like it's today. So I'm sitting there with that family who's lost their child and trying to honor him on a game where everybody thought I'd be fighting North Carolina. I really wasn't. I mean, even at the end when we Major Applewhite and Chance Mock, when we scored 44, said, that's Cole's number. Let's take a knee. So I called timeout to make sure we didn't kick the extra point because the kids wanted to stay at 44. Well, all my North Carolina buddies got mad at me. They thought I was calling timeout to run up the score and go for 2. When I never thought about any of that stuff. I was just trying to honor that young man and his family. We had him on the field before the game. I had the family in the locker room after the game. So other than seeing my North Carolina friends and seeing the players that I had recruited and coached on the field after the game, I was all into trying to win the game and honor that kid. That was it. When we came back here, it was interesting. It was a drizzly day, and Mack McCorder was our offensive line coach. He and I look a lot alike, and he walked out on the field before I did, and he got booed. And he came back in and said, man, are they mad at you? And I said, that's why I sent you out first. I wanted you to be the test drum. And then I remember after we won the game, I came back in and people said, how'd it feel to get booed at Chapel Hill? And I said, I got booed here for 10 years, so I'm used to that. That's not it. But I never, ever took it personal. I didn't. I just, you coach your team, you do the best job you can do. So I talked to Jeff this morning a little bit. He took the Georgia Tech team back to Temple right after he left Temple. Okay. And his team at Temple was a lot better than his Georgia Tech team. So I didn't ask him to score, but it didn't sound good. So he's done this before. And he recruited a bunch of these kids. So it's emotional, but you can't take it personal. That's not what you do. Most of the world doesn't care. Only the Texas and North Carolina fans cared when I came back here. Nobody else cared. And after it's over, nobody remembers it or cares. So it really would be very, very selfish for you to think it's about you when it's really not. It's about the kids and the two universities.
So did you get, if I can
Yeah.
just follow up on that, AJ? So did Jeff give you a laugh today when he told you that? Like when you, like,
No,
okay.
Yeah, no, I told him, I said, I've done what you're about to do. And he said, me too.
Okay.
And it wasn't good. So he said, I'm good. I've moved on. We got things we need to fix on defense, and we got to play better. So that's what he'll tell you in a minute, I'm sure.
I was just gonna add very quickly, you said nobody cared, that game was an ABC primetime game, wasn't it?
Which one?
When you came back here?
I don't even
It
know.
was an ABC primetime.
Was it?
It was a pretty good game.
Yeah. But you know, again, if it's all about you, this doesn't last long. It's got to be about your players. It's got to be about your team. It's got to be about your place. And again, I'm the one that scheduled the game. So I thought, how stupid was that when I went to Texas that I'd scheduled the game? How does that happen? I mean, really.
Why did you?
Because it's a great question, Art, but the BCS was not letting people in unless their out-of-conference schedule was tough. And I was trying to improve our out-of-conference schedule so we could get in the BCS. Because they didn't have a champion gets in at that time, and it was just the 4 teams. So we actually scheduled home and home with Texas to increase that schedule. And then here I am. So I thought, well, that's stupid.
Mack, you said recently how tough these losses are on you personally and trying to do better with them. Just in the Wayback Machine, when you went 1-10 2 years in a row, what did you learn about yourself as a coach? And is any of that carried forward through the years when things are tough?
That's probably, Chip. I really hadn't thought a lot about that either, but I learned that you get a lot of advice when you're losing. A lot of people have a lot of answers. I've always thought when even assistant coaches can give suggestions, they can't make decisions. So when your boosters are giving you suggestions, they can't make decisions, and they don't know all the problems, but they're full of thoughts. And your friends and your children, by the way, they can help you too with some things. But I do think, I remember we lost to Navy, and that was probably the lowest moment of my coaching career outside of losing a child. I mean, I can't even think about that as compared to anything else. And I think I remember telling John Swafford after the game, you should fire me. I should quit. This is awful. I mean, we can't keep doing this. And he said, well, nobody else will take it. It's too bad, so I'm not going to fire you. And I thought, yeah, that's probably true, because Navy had not won a Division I game in 3 years, and we lost to them on a pass down the middle that I'll never forget. But I could see recruiting was going well, and we were getting better. As I said, we couldn't look at wins and losses. We had to look at wins that were kind of like some of the things I'm talking about today. If we gained more yards than they did, if we didn't fumble the ball, those things were wins. So we were having to find our wins, but the kids were playing hard. And I really feel like, Chip, when you spend all your life recruiting these kids and then you're coaching them every day, if they go out there and they do everything they can do and try their hardest, and I thought our coaches did that Saturday, and I thought our players did that Saturday, then you come back in and you try to help them correct things. But I can't handle a team that doesn't give everything they got. I just can't coach that. And that's so, don't like losing, but if we do everything we can do and then we can fix a few things and keep doing it, then I'm okay with having 100% effort.
Did you tell anybody here that if we ever lose 41-0 again, turn the scoreboard off on the game?
Yeah. I think that was stupid of us to keep it on, wasn't it, Art? So, yes.
I know, obviously, last week Cayden was kind of working his way back in there, and he got in a little bit the other day. When did you guys know that he'd be able to play, even though it was a little bit? When did you guys figure out, he'd be able to play, and what was just kind of, the process of getting him out there and everything like that?
Yeah, Thursday night. It was that late in the week because we wanted to make sure that he was 100% healthy. He was practicing, and Jeff and Ted did a great job of sitting down with him and saying, we know you're not going to be out there 70 plays. We know you're not ready to do that because you're just working yourself back in. And here's where we'd like to use you. We'd like to use you on third down only. We'd like to use you in this one package. And Cayden was good with that, so he told us Thursday night that he felt like he could go.
Sure. And then kind of going off of that, in the plays that he did have, since looking at it, how did you feel he was? I know that first play he had the quarterback hit and everything else. What did you notice about, I guess, how effective he was, even in that limited snap count that he did?
Yeah, I think he's going to be back to who we knew real soon. There was I think a screen to the left, to our right, their left, down on the goal line, and he was all over it. And so Jeff can talk to you more about that here in a minute. But I really think he'll be back ready to go. I think he needed to be out there and have some plays and know it was okay. And now he's ready to go. I saw him last night at dinner, and I said, is your mind right? Because I've had knee operations, and a lot of times it's what Kobe Paystor's been fighting. You break bones in both feet, and you don't get touched. It's not an easy just walk back out there and do everything you're supposed to do and be okay, because you're not sure every time you plant whether the foot's going to break or not. So I'm sure practice is different than a game, and Cayden had to get out there, and then he got to the quarterback the first time, but he didn't get hit. So you got to get hit, you got to get knocked down, you've got to make sure that it's okay.
Mack, you talked about out on Saturday how before the game against Pitt, you made the decision that we're going to go for a lot of these fourth downs because we got to score touchdowns. Was that sort of maybe an uncomfortable conversation to have with Noah, because you just saying, hey, we may not use you as much this game?
Yeah, you don't have that with Noah because you want him to be ready for every one of them. Again, all day yesterday and today we went over all six. There were 6 fourth downs. We made the first 2. I thought you look at Pitt, you also look at the other team, how aggressive they're being. Pitt comes out, it's 4th and 2 to -40, and I mean, they don't even huddle. They're at the line of scrimmage going for 4th and 2, so I knew they felt like they were going to be going for it, because I would not have gone for 4th and 2 on our -40 on the first drive. So all of that has an effect on it.
The last few years, Mack, Georgia Tech's, the games gone their way. I don't know if it was just schedule spot, the team overlooked them, or whatever it may be, but now they're coming in here, they're the favorite. I mean, you feel like, hey, we're not going to overlook them this time, the team's aware, let's get over this?
We had a great game with them after we clinched the division title. Right after we beat Wake Forest, we came back, and we didn't play great. I think we got beat 21-17. We had a 75-yard touchdown call back for holding that wasn't holding. Our best player, who'd never dropped a ball in his life, drops a touchdown pass. It's kind of like Saturday. I mean, those plays that are there to be made, and that's a 14-point swing, and we'd won the game, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Last year, it was a shootout. And 45-42? 46-42. And I mean down to the end where we're driving to try to score right at the end. So they've been great games. The other one, Jeff was the coach, and we were in the Mercedes-Benz, and we turned it over too many times. And that was right after we'd killed Virginia. And we go down there, and let's go back to analytics. That's a 4th and 2 on the -45 on the first drive. And I asked our offensive coordinator, you good? You got it? It says go, and he said, I got it. And I think we lost 3. So there you go for analytics. Analytics are good when you make them. And then the quarterback that Jeff had at that time, Sims, my God, he comes off the bench and he plays most unbelievable game there's ever been. This has been it's been a good game for years. I remember when I was here before, I think the thought was, and you old timers, we could never beat Georgia Tech in Atlanta, and they couldn't beat us here. We tied them 10-10 in 1990 when they won the national championship. They tied us 10-10. They had to kick the field goal to tie them. We didn't have overtime at that time. And then, they were top 10, and we beat them here with Bill, who was their head coach? Bill Lewis, and tore down the goalpost, and that's when they took them down to Franklin Street. And I got in trouble because I said, I'd like to see that again. The chancellor called me and said, we could have kids die. Don't be talking about tearing down goalposts. So, but it's been a great series.
You were up there in 97.
I'm sorry?
Did you shut them out there in 97?
Yeah, but it was, I think it was the week before the Florida State game. It was down there on a Thursday night, and it was a fight. And I think it was like 28-24. I don't think we shut them out. We'd have to go back.
96 at home you did.
Yeah,
I think that was the game,
yeah.
the 97.
But the games have been good because I remember Hamilton was a quarterback, and he was really talented. So.
With what Chip said about the 88 and 89 seasons, was there a moment in 1990 where you thought, okay, this team has turned the corner, this is going to start being a lot better soon? Was it the Georgia Tech game? Was it something in the preseason? What sort of tipped you off?
Yeah, I think it was Natron, number one, because we could run the ball. And then we found Jason Stanisak, who was a really good quarterback. And he was a freshman, and we were starting to play better defense. But I do think that I remember we were 6-4-1 and had Georgia Tech had tied us, and then they wouldn't let us go to a bowl game because I think we were invited to the Independence Bowl, and we were all so excited, but it was during finals, and Chancellor Hardin wouldn't let us go. So that was another tough thing that set us back. But then the next year we got a little bit better, so that got us going. And we knew I remember saying to Woody Durham, at least now we let's see, what was the quote? At least it's not
If it's when.
it's not if, it's when. That's what it was. And I actually put that quote up in my office for a while to keep looking at it. We're going to make it. We finally broke through. Don't know when, but we're going to be good. And we're going to be good at some point because we're recruiting well and we're starting to get better. Thank you, Art.
Mack, you've played 6 games, you have 6 more, you're at the midpoint here. If you were Professor Brown, what kind of midterm grade would you give this team and this coaching staff also?
Well, you want to win all the games, so you're 50-50 as you look at it, and I thought that Pittsburgh's probably the best team we've played. And if we had played the other 5 games like we played Pittsburgh, we'd be 5-1. That's just where we are. Now you look at it on the positive side, you got a chance to be 9-3 because you got a chance to get better. Now if you look at every game that's left, you can win every one of them or you could lose every one of them. As you look at it, there's not much difference each week in all of these ball games. So what we've got to do, and I've told the coaches this, and we are in a business that has to win. So what we have to do is start taking these tight games, like at Duke, there's a play or two. Like at Pitt, there's a play or two. The James Madison thing was crazy. That was awful. It was just a bad day. But these other games are going to be just like that. And we as coaches have to do a better job coaching than we've ever done in our lives to take those plays that aren't working and make them work. And that's what it's getting down to. I told the players, I said, you think they're having conversations that are tough at Alabama today? I mean, everybody that loses now has got tough conversations. And the fact that the clock runs faster, when somebody can hold the ball against you, you can get beat. I mean, that's one of the great things Georgia Tech does. They dominate time of possession. So, because they can run the ball. And their quarterback's really, really talented, but he's a dual threat. So that's what you got to look at this weekend.
How much tougher are the conversations when you've lost 3 in a row?
With
With the players, and do you see them receiving everything the same way?
You know, a lot of people start pointing fingers, and I told them the other day, make your focus so strong that you don't let distractions get in the way. And that's what you got to do. It's a great learning experience for them. And we don't blame players. What we do is sit on the video and show them exactly what happened, and show, you got to, number one, show them why it happened, what happened, why it happened, who did it, and then what we're going to do to fix it. That's our job. We don't sit and gripe. We don't sit and do this. And if a player continues to make the same mistakes, at some point you change players if you've got someone else that can be in his position. But that's what we do. So when the players say, what happened, you show them. And you have to be careful, because you want to show them the positives, and you've also got to show them the things that didn't go well that you can fix. But it's really, really important for the players, and it'd be healthy for the fans when you sit and watch 68 great plays on defense, and then here are the ones we got to fix. The players can say, God, we played good, man. We got to make 8 plays. That's it. And you got to make them on Tuesday, and you got to make them on Wednesday. And I've also said, Joel Klatt had a great little analogy a month ago about why there will be more upsets in modern day football than in the past. And it was all about the distractions that kids have. They've got social media. We didn't have any of that. They've got it, good and bad. After a win, they brag on them too much. After a loss, they beat you up too much. And it's somewhere in between, always, the truth. You're never as good as they say you are after a win. You're never as bad. I told the guys yesterday, after we win, I get back and watch the video, and I'm mad because of the same 8 plays that we got to fix, but nobody sees them because you win. Everybody lets them go. And then he said, and you got agents that are talking to you all the time. Then you've got transfer portal, first time you get mad. Then you've got NIL, I want more money. He's making more than I am. I'm not making enough. Well, I had a good game. Well, I need more money. So it's, then you got school. Then you got tampering. You got agents calling agents to say if they're not getting him the ball enough, he can come to us, man. So that was, and it was really cool. But I watched it, and I thought, that makes a lot of sense to me. They got a lot of things on their mind right now that we never had. And it's going to lead to more distractions, and it will lead to more upsets. Anything else?
Good.
Got it?